1, 2, 3. Welcome to the show.
Get familiar.
Get familiar.
Get familiar.
Welcome to Win Big with Clinton Sparks. It's time to get familiar. I got a BMX track in my backyard.
Do you really?
100%. So when you come out to LA, you're coming over and you're using this track and you're going to show all the neighborhood kids how it's done.
Listen, just invite me, bro. I got you.
I kind of think that was an invite, but if it wasn't clear, Nigel, you're invited to come to my house when you come to LA so you can show everybody how it's done. Show me how it's done. Man, I promise if I tried to clear the tabletop, I'd be in the hospital, 100%. Let me tell you something that's embarrassing to say, right? So how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 33.
Okay, so.
Years young.
Yeah, totally, right? but here's the thing, right? When you're young, when you're like 17, 18, 22, 25, 26, 28, right? And you're super active and you can do killer shit and you can just run over and do 25 chin-ups, or you can just like jump and grab a tree and swing to another branch, right? And then you like get into your upper 30s, right? Your mind thinks you can still do that shit, right? Your body is like, hold on, wait, what? So I was with my son and I got him like a sick bike, right? I had him a bike made and he was like, yeah, Dad, I don't know how to do wheelies. I was like, oh man, that's nothing. Give me the bike. I grabbed the bike, bro. I woke up like 30 seconds later. I don't even remember popping the wheelie. I just like woke up, like looking at the sky.
Backwards.
I went too far and just like banged my head, hurt my back. I'm laying there, I'm like, thinking to myself, holy shit, I'm really hurt right now. And I don't even remember pulling up the handlebars. So like for anybody else.
It happens. Listen, like when you're riding bikes, man, everything's moving very quickly. So you got to stay on your P's and Q's and keep it nice. You know what I mean? Do
you still wipe out like that? Being as good as you are, do you still wipe out like and get hurt like that?
Yeah, it happens, bro.
Right.
Part of the game, bro. Like, falling off your bike is like, I would compare it to if you were in the NFL and you get popped, you know what I mean? Like running back, trying to go through the hole and you get popped and, you know, like lost for yardage, or like you playing ball and you miss a shot, or you have a quick blooper or something. Like that's what it is. It's just part of the game, bro. It's all about how like you get up and how you reach, like try that trick again and figure out how to, you know, land that trick. So
I think that people think once somebody's a professional and they're the top in their game, that like they don't fuck up anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're so nice, like they don't ever make dumb mistakes.
Yeah, and like that's not the case. We see it all the time, bro, in professional sports. You know, like you'll see certain teams make it to the championship game and they fail because they wasn't prepared, or they made a few mistakes or mental errors, or whatever the case is. Man, it happens across the board. Or you see some of your favorite athletes, like they miss a shot or they lose the game, or they just made a mental error. It's part of the game, bro. But how I look at it, it's really about how you continue to practice, continue to hone your craft, you know, and make sure that doesn't happen again.
So how do you feel like, you know, BMX wasn't always, you know, it was a niche thing for people that, you know, were into BMX. But outside of that, no one thought about it, talked about it. It wasn't like, oh, that kid's cool, he rides a BMX bike, right? How do you feel about the culture of BMX now being so much more connected and accepted from, like, say, hip hop and gamers and all these other kind of spaces that were kind of all segregated to their own audience and community? And now BMXing is kind of been part of like pop culture. It's the fabric of today's pop culture. And you're one of the top guys in that. So how do you feel? And do you feel that you are one of the people that were instrumental in bringing it to today's culture?
Well, first, like the first part of your question, like I'm definitely excited to see how hip hop, pop culture, street culture in general is now accepting BMX in the way that it's being accepted. And I mean that in the sense of like, when I first got into bike riding and BMX, it wasn't accepted the same exact way. Right. You know, like it wasn't the coolest thing to do. Everyone had a bike and it was cool to ride a bike.
Right.
But to pursue like BMX in the sense of like want to jump down this handrail or jump down some stairs or try to jump a ramp, those things were looked at like, nah, you bugging, or like you wilding. Yeah. I mean, like, especially in my neighborhood, it was looked at as a white boy sport, like really and truly.
Right.
Like it was, because like all the information, all like the TV programming, all like the content we've seen, that's what it was.
Right.
You know, so to see how far it has come, where it's like you go on social media and you see kids from all walks of life riding BMX bikes, whether they're popping a wheelie or they're jumping down some stairs or riding a handrail. All that's super dope, you know. And I feel like for me, like, I'm just playing my part. I'm doing what is natural to me. I'm expressing myself on a bicycle the way I see fit,
Right.
and hope that people understand and that kids see that it's a way out the hood or a way out of your current situation, or just a career option in general, that you can ride a bike and travel the world and live your wildest dreams and have endorsement deals and all the things that like we dream about as kids. I know a lot of things that I'm doing now were things that I dreamt about as a kid. I was like, man, I wish that, or I hope that one day I can accomplish these things by riding my bike, and these things are happening. And now it's amazing I'm able to share that with the world, share with my friends and my family.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So when you were coming up, as you stated, like typically and traditionally, at least, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when you thought about BMX bikes, as you said, most of the time you thought it was like white dudes riding
Mhm.
bikes. So what was your biggest adversity in being a black dude and falling in love with riding a BMX bike and being around your neighborhood riding it? What were like the biggest things you had to overcome to be accepted and or to be able to internally push through and dismiss whatever other people's perceptions were of who should be riding a BMX bike and what you wanted to do in that space?
Nah, for sure, man. It's pretty much all the things that you would expect, right? People fear what they don't understand. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
like, they talk down upon the things that like they don't actually get in real time. You know, so a lot of those misconceptions that I had to break through. A lot of those stigmas that I had to break through. But that was cool. It was all part of my come up. It was all part of my rise, where I understood that what I was doing at the time, everyone wouldn't get it right away. It's gonna take some time. I had to like show and prove. I had to like show my family, like some of my friends, and then my neighborhood,
But
why this.
even when you were young, did you actually think what you know now? Did you
Mm.
actually think at the time like I'll show them, or I'm gonna, or did you just keep doing it because it was dope to you and you liked it and didn't really penetrate the hate or the doubt around you until you got older?
No, so it was definitely something that like I was very conscious of it. Like I knew what was going on. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right,
I knew like I had this dream to become this professional BMX rider, and I had to show people why this mattered to me. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that's what my mindset was at the time, and I dedicated myself to it. You know what I mean? Like as cliche as that may sound, that's really what it was. Like I dedicated myself to what mattered to me, to
Right,
what like I felt in my heart. You
right.
know?
So at what age, you're from New York, right?
Yeah.
So at what age did you decide, yo, BMX is for me and that's what I want to do with my life? Because I know early on, like I knew what I wanted to do at like 10. I already knew it at 10, like music, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna figure this shit out. So
Yeah.
what made you realize it was BMX and how old were you?
I was around that age. I was between 11, 12 years old, around there somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, and I seen it on TV. I seen Dave Mirra like riding his bike, soaring through the air. You know, he had stickers on his helmet, his different brand partners and sponsors, and he's winning these like competitions and doing his thing. And he was the biggest bike rider in the world at the time. And I was like, man, like I love riding bicycles. At that point in time, it was popping wheelies and jumping little curb cuts. But once I seen him at that level doing what he was doing, I was sold. I was like, listen, this is what I want to do. And then I discovered like BMX Plus magazines in my local bodega. And I was like, okay, cool. Like there's a lot of bike riders around the world
Right.
who are doing this on a professional level. And these dudes are like, this is their career. It's what they do every single day. It's what they dedicated their lives to.
Mhm.
And from that moment, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going to figure it out. You know?
Now, are you familiar with the movie BMX Bandits?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it, to be completely honest.
Nah, I don't. It's probably whack. It like came out in the '80s. I remember seeing it when I was a kid in the '80s. You know who the star was? Nicole Kidman.
Hold on. Wasn't that Rad?
No, it was BMX Bandits, and it was like an Australian movie but I remember when I was a kid, uh,
Right.
and,
I
and
seen rap. I didn't see that one.
yeah, BMX Bandits, man, get familiar. So now that you're considered pro,
They're familiar.
so so when you go, how does one go from amateur to pro? Like you
Mhm.
started off as an amateur. Well, you started off as someone that just wanted to be a BMX, right? Because I'll give you an example. Like when I started, I never considered myself. I think a lot of people already put themselves at a level of giving themselves a title of something that they're really not yet. They're aspiring to be that, but they're not that yet. So when somebody says like I'm a model or I'm a DJ or I'm a
Mhm.
BMXer, it's like I personally, and that's fine if that's what we want to do. When I was young, I never considered myself a DJ until I was getting paid to be a DJ. Prior
Yeah.
to that, I was, a wannabe. I was an aspiring DJ. So at what point did you go from aspiring to being considered an amateur to then transforming into a pro?
For sure. So I was 15 years old when I started to be considered an amateur rider, and the reason why that happened is because I was hanging around the right individuals. I was hanging around the pros who were the big, legit BMX bike riders at the time in New York City.
Right.
And I started to get hooked up by a company called Animal Bikes. And they started to like give me free parts and support me, you know what I mean? And that was like the amateur realm where like a company was giving you free parts to like rep their brand because you were doing your thing, and at that point in time, I was in New York City doing my thing, and everyone around kind of knew that I was the next one up.
Right.
Like in a sense, like if I continue to perfect my craft, go hard like every day, um, film video clips and just put the work in,
Yeah.
people knew, okay, cool, this was the next kid up. So they started to give me free T-shirts and free bike parts and things of that nature.
Right.
And at the time, it was Animal Bikes, and it was a company called Base Brooklyn, and it was like supporting me, and like that was incredible, like coming out of Jamaica, Queens, like Laurelton, Queens to be exact,
Right.
with this idea of being a professional BMX rider, where no one in my neighborhood, no one that I knew at the time, was riding BMX on a professional level, and then to work my way up to the point where I was getting noticed by brands and other professional bike riders at the time. It was a big thing for me, It
Now,
was
how did one get noticed? Like, how would you get noticed? What were you doing? Where were you? And like, what were the things that were highlighting you to make, brands recognize like, yo, this kid's dope?
cool. So at that time, it was a very local thing. So mind you, this is prior social media. This is pre-social media.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I could go film a clip
totally.
and put it on IG or Facebook or whatever, and people are gonna notice me and be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
let's support this kid." This was like word of mouth. So there was a spot, or like there still is a spot in New York City. It's a park called Union Square, and at that point in time, everyone from bike riders, skateboarders, break dancers, a lot of different people will go to Union Square during the summertime, during the springtime, as long as the weather was nice. And they will all hang out at Union Square. That was like a big meetup point.
right.
So in New York, like a lot of like the pro riders, or anytime pro riders or industry heads from outside of New York would come to New York, everyone would always hang out at Union Square. And I discovered Union Square, I think it was like the ninth grade. Like one of my homies told me about it, and I decided to go out there and like check it out for myself.
Right.
And when I got out there, like it was the New York City BMX industry, from the managers to the pros to the company owners to media folks. Everyone was hanging out at Union Square. So just being around that, you know what I mean? Like similar to if someone wants to pursue a career in music, like you're gonna hang out in certain places that the A&Rs are at, other artists, the DJs, you're gonna be in those places,
Right.
learning the culture, like befriending certain people, doing it, like being a part of that community.
Right.
And that's what I did. Like I just inject myself into the community via Union Square, because that was such a hub. And I just show what I had. It was about writing. It was about being around other individuals who shared similar thoughts, who also wanted those similar things, and individuals who already had those things, you know, who can pass information down.
Right.
And that was part of it. It was being around the right places and getting that information passed down to me. That helped me understand how to like navigate and how to pursue my dream of being a professional BMX athlete.
Right. So what was the next step what made you, or what anointed you now a pro?
Got it. So what anointed me in my situation was I signed a professional deal to a company called Mirra Bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to that, I was on a trip. We had left New York and took a road trip down to North Carolina, and I met Dave Mirra, like R.I.P. He's like, not even like, he is the MJ of BMX riding.
Yep.
He's that guy. Exactly. You let off like 4 or 5 models, add down whatever you got. You know, God.
All right.
And like, as I mentioned earlier, like when I first discovered BMX on a professional level, as far as the industry, like I seen Dave Mirra ride.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 years later, I take this trip, and I'm on this trip because I'm putting the work in, and like the individuals that were putting that trip together, like, let's invest our time, our energy, that we believe in Nigel. We feel like he could come in, like, represent and do his thing.
Right.
And it was down to North Carolina, where Dave Mirra resided at the time. And him and I met, we linked up, we had a great conversation. At that point in time, he heard a lot about me and about my story. And then getting to meet me and then watching me ride, he was like, okay, cool, like, I'm gonna give this kid a shot. And he signed me to his company, which was Miracle Bikes. And I think I was 17 years old, like, when I met him. And when I signed, it was like shortly after my 18th birthday. Yeah. And I remember Mirra calling me, like, I had like a Sprint flip phone. I was living at my mom's crib, broke, you know what I mean? Just pursuing this idea, this dream. I remember him calling me like, yo, Nige, what's going on? What's up? I remember like walking outside my mom's crib, and I walked across the street. I was on the phone with him. He was basically breaking down to me what was about to happen.
Right.
You know, he was offering me a professional contract, which would turn me professional, which would, at that point in time, my dream would now be reality.
We did it.
Crazy.
We did it, New York.
Like, nigga, we made it.
So Nigel, there's a thing called 10,000 hours, right?
Okay.
And a lot of people feel like they see somebody like you that's at the top and they're killing it. They see some other people that, you know, on the Billboard charts, and they're like, man, I can do that. And because they feel in their mind they can do that, they think that it's easy to do, especially with the internet telling you how easy it is to be successful overnight. You know, but like, how long did it take you before you really, and two questions, how long did it take you before you were like starting to become it? And how many failures did you have before you started becoming it?
Wow, man, like, those are two good questions, bro. And like, I've definitely heard of the 10,000 hours, and I've put those 10,000 hours in probably 10 times already. You know what I mean?
We can see on your videos, nobody's starting next week and doing what you're doing.
Not at all, man. It's such a process, bro. You know what I mean? So like, I've been riding bikes my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember as early as 4 years old, like, riding bicycles. You know what I mean? Right. And it took from 4 to about 11, 12 years old to understand, okay, you can actually ride BMX. And I was talking about that 4 to 12, you know what I mean? Like, that whole time frame, that like 8 years to be like, of riding bikes consistently.
Yeah.
Then from that 12 to 18 to turn pro, it's another, you know what I mean? Like
6 years.
Yeah. It's like 6 years, 12 to 18, 6 years, you know what I mean?
Right.
Of like every day, not just like, I'm a ride when I have free time.
Right.
I'm talking about like on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, morning and night.
Right.
Monday to Friday, I'll come home after school. Most times I wouldn't even do my homework. I'll jump right on my bike and ride until like I had to go home to do my homework.
Right.
It was every day, right? And it was whether I was with my homies, by myself, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it was on my bike, riding, trying a new trick, And when I wasn't riding, I was home watching the video, studying.
Right.
Studying like how riders were landing tricks, how riders were positioning their foot on the pedal, how they were gripping their handlebars, how they did bar spins, how they would land tail whips, all those things. You know what I mean? Like, and nothing was ever too far from me. You know what I mean? Like, growing up in Laurelton, Queens, I had to ride to Jamaica Station and then take a train an hour and some change just to get to the city,
Right.
down to Union Square to meet with the homies and then go ride.
Right.
I mean, it would, and then do that back. I would take the train back to Jamaica Station and then ride back to the crib. So I dedicated so much time and energy, but I knew this is what I wanted to do. Like, no one could tell me anything different.
Yeah, hold on. That is how you win big, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you win big.
Dedication, for real.
You don't win big. Winners don't rely on luck. Winners don't rely on favors. Winners don't rely on dreams. Winners win. And how do they win? They put the work in. If you don't have the passion to want to go every day, every minute that you have free time, if you're not thinking, well, you're doing something else, you'd rather be doing that thing, and you don't have that kind of drive and passion for the thing that you're trying to win at, then you might need to reconsider what you're trying to win at, because the people that win big are the people that will do anything at all times to do what they love doing, just like Nigel did.
Just like you did, bro. You feel me?
Say what?
I said, just like you did, bro. Like, I'm sure it was 10,000 hours, 10, 20, 30 times to get to where you're at right now, bro.
I love hearing stories like yours, because, I know my story, right? I know what it took for me to overcome, adversities and to get to the places that I wanted to go. I mean, look, I was a white dude trying to make it in hip hop, like at a point where hip hop was black in New York. Right? I'm from Boston, which New York already fucking hates Boston. You know what I'm saying? And then if you're a white dude, you're either going to be called Vanilla Ice or Eminem, right? That's what was going to happen when I was coming up. But I I didn't even care. I knew that dope would prevail. Dope always wins, right? So if all you got to do is be dope. And by the way, you ain't got to tell people you're dope. People will tell you you're dope when you're dope. Right?
Show them, bro.
Right. So when you're out here doing what you're dope at doing, you ain't got to be out here like, yo, I'm the dopest, da. Just be fucking dope. People are going to recognize your dopeness. You know what I mean? Right. Just like I'm sure they recognize. I mean, people didn't come to you because you were like, yo, I'm dope on the BMX. Nah, you was out there every day doing it, proving it, that people were like, yo, that kid is nice. Then they tell somebody else, yo, you heard of Nigel Sylvester? Then you hear then the word starts spreading. Then people start coming, they start hearing about your dope before they even see it.
Nah, for real.
You know what I'm saying? And then when they see it, that's where the magic is. It's like, oh shit, this is what everybody's been talking about.
Nah, for real. Like, and that's exactly what happened, bro. Like, I was in Queens, like jumping on park benches at the Bellow Park, or grinding the marble ledge behind the Catholic Church, Sinclair's, before I even left my neighborhood. And I knew, and I was going hard. I mean, like, my crew and we were going super hard, like with the idea of hopefully one day getting to that point, but there was no clear cut path of like, this is what's gonna take you there. We were just doing it because we loved it, you know what I mean? And love is a big part of everything I do. Like, I love what I do, man. I love living. I mean, I live hard. You know?
Yeah. Nigel, what would you say has been in your long journey to becoming a pro and being globally recognized for being one of the top BMX riders in the world? What would you say was one of your biggest failures / regrets throughout your career?
Wow. That's a good question, man.
Something that still, like, to this day, once in a while still might haunt you. Or you're like, damn, I should have did this. Or I shouldn't have done this.
Familiar. That's a good question, bro. And like, honestly, like, I can't think of one right now, to tell you the truth, bro. And like, I'm not perfect by any means.
Right.
But I can't give you something I was like, man, like, I really regret doing this. You got anything like
is there a deal you passed on? Is there an opportunity you passed on? Is there a jump that you thought you could make and everyone's like, nah, and you try to prove them wrong, you broke your legs, like something?
Yeah, I'm not gonna wood for that one, bro. Nah, man. Like honestly, like I've been extremely blessed and extremely fortunate, and I've had good people around me my entire life and career. You know, from family to friends, and everyone always had like my best interest. So anytime I came to one of those crossroads where I didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
and I would lean on the people around me, which I thank every single one of them for being there.
Right.
I was always able to make the right decision.
Right.
Now, to your previous question, as far as setbacks, we definitely had those. And like one of like the biggest ones early in my career is that I turned pro. I believe it was like October or something like that. Like my birthday is in August, so I was I turned 18 at the end of August, and I turned pro like shortly after. So it was October or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like lit, you know what I mean? I signed to Miracle Bikes, I signed to Nike,
Yep.
I signed a pro deal with Animal Bikes. I'm doing my thing, you know what I mean? It's everything I worked for so many years is happening. And I broke my wrist on my 19th birthday, like on the actual day.
Wow.
Like less than a year after turning pro and having all these amazing things happen, I broke my wrist. And I had to sit down for 8 weeks. And looking back on it, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because it gave me a chance to sit down and focus and soak in and understand everything that was happening for me at that moment.
Right.
You know, because once all those things happened for me, I was moving very fast. I'm doing photo shoots, I'm traveling,
Right.
I'm taking meetings, a lot of different things are happening. You know, and mind you, I'm 18 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kids. And breaking my wrist as frustrated and as sad and as angry as I was when it first happened, that moment changed my course for the better, because I was able to digest and understand what I was going through. Mm-hmm. And then once I got back up on my bike, I appreciated the opportunity to grab my handlebars, to stand on my pedals, to do a bunny hop, to do a bar spin, to like ride super fast and feel that wind hitting my face. Like all those things, like I appreciated so much more. Right. And I also had a moment to think about what I was doing on the business side of my career. And I had certain conversations with people who steered me in the right direction in regards to taking advantage of the moment and not letting it pass me by and not getting caught up in the moment. Right. You know, I feel it's so important that we work so hard to get to a certain spot, but we need to realize that we need to take advantage of that opportunity, you know, and not just live for that moment, but enjoy it and let that moment help you achieve the next one. Right.
How important is it to, building the business and brand of Nigel Sylvester? How important is it for one to have a solid team around them to make sure that you're making the right decisions, that you're capitalizing on opportunities, and that you're not making the wrong decisions?
It's everything, bro. It's everything, man. Like especially when you first achieve it after working so hard to get to that point. Because anything worth having, you know what I mean, you got to work extremely hard for it. So being able to have people around you that legitimately and truly care about you, not just want to get into your pockets or not want to ride your coattail, like actually care about you, that you can have conversations with, be honest with, be vulnerable, and help you make the right decisions when things get tough or when you're not sure, I feel is one of those things that's the difference between good and great.
Right.
So having the right team around me, man, was super important my entire career. And people have come and gone, but there's a nucleus that I have of individuals that I know that are with me for life, no matter what happens from here on out.
And I was gonna say, and how important is it to get rid of somebody on the team that's not doing a good job?
Of course, like this is like at the same exact time, like this is business. So it's extremely important that this is fun and we're having a great time and we're living our dream and we can't believe it, but this is also something that's providing for myself and my family, a lot of people around me.
Right.
So in regards to anyone that's doing their thing or trying to do their thing or about to do their thing or just started doing their thing,
Yeah.
it's important that you keep that business first and foremost, because you don't want to let one bad apple like ruin the
Right.
entire situation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to make those tough decisions. It's just part of.
Sometimes when you come up with your homie and he's your manager and you start to grow, he's not the guy that can take you to the next level. So if you guys really are homies like that, he's going to understand the best decision for you in your career is to you be able to separate from that person that's your homie.
Yo, people, I feel people got to be on that same time and that same energy.
Yeah.
And anyone that knows me, I'm doing 10 things at the same exact time. And I want all those things to be the best they can possibly be.
Right.
So if you're not on that same time and that same energy, then I see you later. I see you at another point in time. But I need people around me that are like-minded and on that same page with me. You feel me?
Right. So you achieved tremendous success at a young age. Was there ever a point where you were feeling yourself like you were the man and someone had to be like, yo, fall back, bro. Like chill out with that ego. Because, a lot of people go through that, especially young, when you're seeing success and everyone's on your nuts and you're like, yo, he's the man, da-da-da. You're starting to get some money and then you start really feeling and buying into, people like getting on you like that. Did you get caught up in that at all?
There were times where like, I was feeling myself, but I felt like I checked myself. Right. Like no one had to check me. And I owe all of that credit or the majority of it to my mom.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I come from very humble beginnings and I got a very, very close relationship with my mother. And she instilled like lessons in me at a very early age that as much as all this is amazing, like I can't let it get to my head. But I also know there's a balance where you have to understand your worth and your value.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like and life's about balance.
Right.
So I make sure that I balance that where I know, okay, cool, like if I walk into a room or walk into a situation, I know what I'm bringing to it.
Right.
But all this can be gone tomorrow. So never ever let that like define you.
Right. Or
walk in with this major ego or something, because that's just not what it is. And people don't really find that attractive any which ways. You know what I mean? You can tell when someone's too into themselves, and that shit is not really cool, to tell you the truth. You know?
Man, I've been around almost 20 years, and I can't tell you how many rappers or influencers or just have come and gone, and I can literally tell after hanging out with them one time, like, yeah, this guy's not gonna last. And 99% of the time when I say that, it happens. And I could literally name 10 people right now that as soon as he left the room, I'm like, he won't be around next year. And he wasn't. Yeah. And it was because of that shitty attitude. And he didn't understand the work ethic. But, I don't want to blame them 100% because, again, it goes back to you talking about a good team. So it's really hard to find a team that's going to, one, be honest with you, and two, know better than you, and three, have the ability to reel you in when you do think that you're the man.
Nah, facts. I mean, and also I feel like if you have a good team around you, like you're gonna stay grounded any which ways. You know what I mean? Like I'm still close with a lot of my day ones. I'm talking about kids I'm talking about kids who I was close with or best friends with in 4th, 5th grade. Like we still hang out all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was cool with prior to going pro. Like we still homies. Like and it's still love, and like we've all come up together and that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
You know?
So any artist, any athlete, any artist, any influencer that is trying to be successful, the next level after building an audience and starting to make money is now getting like partners in brand deals and sponsors and whatnot. You got some pretty significant names connected to you, Nigel. I mean Mercedes-Benz. Hold on. We got who do we got? Coach. What else do we got? What other big brands we got?
We got Nike. We got Specialized.
Hold on. Wait. We got. I guess Mercedes should have got that too, really. We got Nike. We got who else?
Specialized
bikes. I know you're still young, but I know that a lot of younger kids consider you an OG. So before you go, what is something you would say to help guide a young 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that's trying to be the next Nigel Sylvester?
Put the work in, bro. Like, identify exactly what it is that you want to do. Don't be afraid to put the work in. Things aren't going to work out exactly how you plan it because that's just life.
Or win.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But put that work in, keep good people around you. And don't be afraid to experiment either. You know what I mean? Like, try different ways of achieving your goal. If it's not working the first way, remix it, switch it up, try it again.
Right.
But it's very important to put that work in because nothing happens overnight, like at all. And nothing's instant.
Right.
No matter how it may look on Instagram, it don't happen like this. There was a process, and anything worth having is worth working and worth fighting for.
How crucial is it to you to focus on building the brand and protecting that brand?
Oh, it's everything for me. You know what I mean? If anyone knows me, they know that I'm gonna work to make an idea as good or as great as it can possibly be, and I won't stop until I get that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And bringing those ideas to that point is one, investing in myself as an athlete, so I'm able to go out and perform on the highest level possible. But then two, it's understanding how do I connect this content, this idea to my community, to my fans, to the viewer. How do I make it engaging for them? And I mean, people are on social and YouTube every day, scrolling through thousands and thousands of photos and videos. What can I do, or how do I present my idea in a way that makes someone watch it, share it, make them feel something,
right.
You know, whether inspired or informed or motivated.
Right.
That's what's important to me, you know what I mean? And then how do I do the same for the brands I work with?
Right.
How am I connecting with them and making sure that the partnership is beneficial on both sides?
Right.
We're both leaving the table, we're both leaving the conversation with what we came in with.
You nailed it. That's it right there. What most people do not do, most people are just worried about themselves. You know what I mean? Worried what they're going to get out of the deal or making sure that they look good. And it's very rare that you find a talent or a brand that's partnering with somebody else that's equally as concerned or worried about the brand they partner with, getting the value out of that partnership that they're getting. And what you just said is so crucial. And I'm telling you, man, I deal with a lot of people in different industries, and it's very rare that people are sitting there like, well, I want to make sure that they look good. I want to make sure they're getting the most value out of this too. And that is why you'll continue to get your deals re-upped, why you'll get other people that keep booking you for things, why other brands are going to want to work with you because they see how great you work with that brand. And it's so key. And you hit the nail on the head, man. And I applaud you for that. And by the way, that's not just me applauding. It's a bunch of other people that agree.
Appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this conversation. I appreciate you.
So Nigel Sylvester, I appreciate you being on the show.